right, hello. So this is page 395 from the textbook, and we are going to do numbers 1 through 28, the odds. So here's the textbook assignment. So make sure you have your textbook link out and that you also have your notebook and pen or pencil handy. So we'll start here with number 1. I'm going to focus on the FOIL method here to do these problems. We've done a number of them where I've written out the F and the O and the I and the L. So I'll start by doing a couple of those that way. But then I'm going to switch actually to just probably drawing these arc marks for what we need to do. X times x is x squared. 2 times x is positive 2x. 4 times x is positive 4x. And 4 times 2 is positive 8. Then we have to combine like terms. And so we end up with x squared plus 6x plus 8 as the answer for number 1. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to focus on FOIL to do these problems. But what you can do is if you prefer solving by using the table, you can still check your answers. Okay, so you should still get the same answers. All right, so again, we'll do a couple where we write out F, O, I, and L. And I'll color code them. So F is the firsts, that would be D times D. O is the outsides, which would be negative 10, be careful there, times D. I is the insides, which would be, again, be careful, negative 5 times D. And L is the lasts, which would be negative 5 times negative 10. All right, evaluating each of these terms on their own, we would have D squared. Negative 10 times D is negative 10D. Negative 5 times D is negative 5D. And negative 5 times negative 10 is positive 50. Look to combine our like terms, which again 95% of the time is going to be the O and the I term. So we end up with D squared minus 15D plus 50. So again, just a quick review for combining like terms. 10 of those D's minus negative 10, sorry, minus 5 more of them for a total of negative 15. All right, number 5. Q plus 1 times the quantity Q plus 5. All right, don't forget to pause the YouTube video here because you can pause it, try this problem on your own, and then come back and check the answers. So I've got Q squared for the first term. The outside gives me positive 5Q. The inside gives me positive 1Q. And the lasts gives me positive 5. So my answer here is Q squared plus 6Q plus 5. All right, number 7. X minus 7 times x plus 3. Again, make sure you pause so you can check your answers here. X squared. The outsides gives me positive 3x. The insides negative 7x. And the lasts is negative 7 times positive 3, which will be negative 21. Combine like terms. X squared minus 4x minus 21. Let's talk about that one for just a second. Positive 3 of those x's minus 7. So you can always do 3 minus 7 on your calculator to get that negative 4. So that's the number of x's that we have there, negative 4. All right. Number 9 up here. Number 9 is x plus 7/8 times x minus 7/8. So now they're going to throw in some fraction rules we're going to have to worry about. So firsts gives me x squared. The outside gives me negative 7/8 x. The inside gives me positive 7/8 x. And the last is positive times a negative, which is a negative. 7/8 times 7/8, I'm not going to do in my head. I'm going to write it over here and follow the fraction rules. Fraction times fraction is top times top, bottom times bottom. So 49/64. All right, so I have x squared, combine like terms. Of those x's, I have negative 7/8 and then I have positive 7/8. Well, when we have a number like negative 3 and then positive 3, we know they cancel each other out. So that's exactly what happens here. They actually cancel each other out, and I end up with 49/64. X minus 49/64. All right, number 11. Square root of z plus 2 times the quantity 18 times the square root of z. Now I already know where this is going to go. If I end up having the square root of z times the square root of z, that's going to be the square root of z times the square root of z. That's what I just said in words. Well, that's the square root of z squared. Remember how those are opposite operations? So remember that that's just going to be z later on. So a lot of times, as you see, when I'm doing these problems, look, here's a side problem, because I had to deal with fractions. Here's another side problem, because I had to deal with these radicals, right? So don't be afraid that there might be kind of like a problem within a problem, okay? All right, so multiply the firsts, gives me 18 square roots of z. Multiply the outsides, there it is right there. So I'm just going to put plus z because we already did this side problem over here. Do the insides, 2 times 18 is positive 36. And then the lasts will be 2 of those square roots of z's. So this one for combining like terms didn't end up being the O and the I. This is one of those 5% different problems. And the reason it they didn't end up combining is because the two terms were written differently. Right? So I'll use a different highlighter color, the pink here. Notice how the square root of z was the first term, and then the square root of z was the second term in this second factor here. So that's why the O and the I didn't end up adding together. If I had rearranged and put the square root of z where the 18 is, and switcherooed those two and put the 18 where the square root of z is, then my O and my I would have combined like normal. But because they were written in different spots, this is exactly why it didn't work out that way. But I still have like terms that I need to combine. They just end up being the first and the last this time. So I have z, that's that term, and I have plus 36, and the two that I'm combining here we'll put in the middle are 18 of those square roots of z's plus 2 more of those square roots of z's for a total of positive 20 of those square roots of z's. All right, I'm going to grab our textbook assignment again here and paste it so that we can see. There we go. All right, continuing on to number 13. 13 is 2a plus 1 and a minus 1. Don't forget to pause me now. Try number 13 on your own and then come back and check the answers. All right, here we go for solving. 2a times a is 2a squared. The outside is negative 2a. The inside is positive 1a. and the lasts will be negative 1. All right, so we have 2a squared, combining like terms. Negative a, I don't have to write the 1 in there. And there is our answer. All right, number 15 is 6.1 plus n times 2n plus 5. Well, I haven't needed my calculator yet, but now I'm going to get it ready. And the other thing I'm going to do is, sorry about that, shifted that, is I'm actually going to rearrange these so the n term is first. So I'm going to put n plus 6.1, and the second factor there, the 2n plus 5, can stay the same. That's perfectly fine. All right, so pause now if you want to try this one on your own. Here is the answer. 2n times n is 2n squared. Multiply the outside, which is plus 5n. The inside, use your calculator, which is 12.2n. And the lasts, 6.1 times 5 is 30.5. And that is positive 30.5. So 2n squared plus 17.2n plus 30.5 is the answer for number 15.